turn the mic off.
Thank you. As you can see, we are short one member today, so any decisions that end in a 1-1 tie will have to be carried over to our next meeting. And with that in mind, we'd like to extend our condolences to the Guanasso family. Linda is dealing with a passing of a dear relative, so we just like to send our condolences along. The following matters will come before the Revere License Commission today at our regularly scheduled meeting. This meeting is previously filed with the city clerk. The agenda for today, we will start off with applications submitted for consideration. The item number 1 will be St. Anthony's of Padua Church, 250 Revere Street. Marianne Giorgio is the event manager. This is an application for 2 one-day common victular entertainment malt wine licenses. The application of St. Anthony's of Padua Church for a malt wine common victular and entertainment license to be exercised at 250 Revere Street on Saturday, November 5th, 2022. I'm sorry, what was the second date?
November 12th. Turn on the mic. Yeah, hit the button.
November 12th.
And that's also from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m.?
Yes.
So the 2 dates for this license would be Saturday, November 5th, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., and November 12th, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. And this is for the parish's St. Anthony's Feast Day celebration. What is the second thing for?
It's called the Turkey Rammer, so it's just a fundraiser for the church.
Thank you very much. And your name and address for the record, please?
Marianne Giorgio, 2 Philomena Ave in Revere.
Thank you very much. Could you just explain briefly what you'd like to do with these licenses?
Okay, so we're having our feast, so we have Italian food, Alan Labella. So we figured we have beer and wine. Kind of goes together.
Very good.
And then the same for the Turkey Rammer, which is just, we're giving, turkeys, potatoes, everything for a turkey dinner. So also we're giving a pasta dinner with salad. So naturally, beer and wine, if
Okay.
possible.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I don't.
Very good. We've read over your application. I don't have any questions. We've done this event in the past. It's been very helpful for the church. We'll close this section of the hearing. Are there any proponents? Is there anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of St. Anthony's Church and these 2 licenses? I don't see or hear anybody. We'll close that section. Are there any opponents? Is there anybody opposed to the issuing of these licenses? I don't see or hear anybody. We'll close that section. I will ask for general discussion and/or a motion.
I'd move to approve the application for 2 one-day licenses on behalf of St. Anthony's of.
Very
Okay.
good. I will second that motion. Your applications are approved. The application for 2 one-day common victular entertainment malt wine licenses for St. Anthony of Padua Church to be exercised at 250 Revere Street on November 5th, 2022, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., and November 12th, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., and those licenses are approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Rincon Limion Revere, Inc., 260 Broadway. Juan D. Yamarillo is the manager. This is an application for a pledge of an all-alcohol restaurant license. The application of Rincon Limion Revere for the pledge of the license to Eastern Bank. How you doing? Your name and address for the record, please?
Juan Jaramillo.
Very good. Can you just explain briefly what you'd like to be done here?
We recently made a refinance of the building, and the bank, Easter Bank, is requesting to pledge the license to them as a security. That's pretty much it.
Very good. I see your paperwork is all in order. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Osina?
Just 1 second. No, I have no questions.
Very good. We will close this section of the hearing. Are there any proponents, anybody that would like to speak in support of this pledge of license? We don't see or hear anybody. We'll close this section. Is there anybody opposed? Is there anybody that is opposed to the pledge of the all-alcohol restaurant license of Rincon Limonio? Don't see or hear anybody. We'll close that section. Would you like to make a motion on this?
Sure, I'd move to approve the application.
Very good. I will second that motion. The application for a pledge of all alcohol restaurant license of Rincon Limonio Revere Inc. for a pledge of the license to Eastern Bank is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Good
much,
luck.
sir. Good luck. We're going to go out of order on the agenda to accommodate a late application. This is Martignetti Companies, 286 American Legion Highway. Adam Sogoloff is the event manager. This is an application for a one-day mobile food vendor license. The application of Martignetti Companies for a one-day license to be exercised at 286 American Legion Highway on Saturday, October 22nd, 2022, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. for a Customer Appreciation Day. The expected attendance is 75 to 100 people. Your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Adam Sogoloff, and I am at 10 Orange Street in Marblehead, Mass.
Very good. Can you explain briefly what you'd like to do with this mobile food vendor license?
Sure, so what we're doing is a Customer Appreciation Day. I've hired Bianco and Son Sausage out of Medford to just set up a sausage cart, not truck, sausage cart in the parking lot along that wall there by the funeral home, and they'll be making sausages and hamburgers and hot dogs to give to customers outside for free, no charge. It's on Martignetti Companies, and they'll be doing we're gonna have a small wine demo tasting inside as well.
Very good.
Yeah, I think you touched on the question I had. I was gonna say, is it just free to the public or is this for customers?
Free to the customers that are shopping the store, I guess it would be the.
Right,
yeah.
so people can't just walk off the street?
No,
and
no,
get
no,
a hot
no.
dog.
It's for the customers, yeah. I think, I don't know if there's giving a ticket or something in the store to hand to the customers to go and get something.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's good
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
No, I have no questions.
Very good. I don't have any questions. You've answered them. Let's close this section of the hearing. Are there any proponents, anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of the mobile food vendor license? I don't see or hear anybody. We'll close that section. Is there anybody opposed? Is there anybody who's opposed to free hot dogs and hamburgers for the customers of Martinetti's?
Come on down.
I don't see or hear anybody. We'll close that section. Would you like to make a motion?
I'd move to approve so long as I can get a free hot dog.
Get there at 1.
Just one.
I will save you one.
Awesome, awesome.
Thank you.
I move to approve.
I will second that. The application for a one-day mobile food vendor license.
Tell Patrick
Is approved.
Keefe, though, Pat Keefe cannot be.
No cheese.
I'm gonna tell them.
That application will be exercised at 286 American Legion Highway on Saturday, October 22nd, 2022, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Write a check to her, to Maggie, right?
I'm
You
sorry?
Write a check, there's a,
Yes,
yeah.
thank you very much. Okay, item number 3 on your scorecard is Noah's Auto Body Repair and Sales, Inc., 1087R Broadway. Raymond Desamours is the president and manager. This is an application for a Class II motor vehicle dealer's license. The application of Noah's Auto Body and Repair and Sales, Inc., for a Class II motor vehicle dealer's license to be exercised at 1087R Broadway, Revere, Mass. The requested number of cars for sale is 50. The requested hours of operation are Sunday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and this is a continuation from our September meeting. Your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Raymond Desamours.
Very good.
Council.
I'm sorry, sir.
1095 Broadway, Revere.
Thank you, sir.
Don McDonald, Coleman McDonald Law Office, representing Raymond J. Samore, 325 Central Street, Saugus, Mass.
Very good, Counselor. So this is a continuation from the last meeting that we had. And from that period of time, we have, if you recall, I had asked for the city to weigh in on several of the issues that were raised at the last meeting. And I have gotten a decision from the Assistant City Solicitor, which basically sums up, I can just read the last sentence to it, and basically that will sum up the entire process from our point of view. And that is issues concerning the property itself, such as description in the deed, the location of lot lines, the existence of easements, and the like, are relevant to the commission's consideration of this application. So basically, some of the issues that were raised regarding the various issues of, just as it spells out, are not within our purview. So we are basically looking at the application and whether or not the number of vehicles and requested hours of operation are reasonable and proper. So if you wanted to address some of these things, we'll move forward.
Absolutely. Now, you didn't state that, but as part of that letter, the city solicitor has confirmed the non-conforming pre-existing use and the transfer thereof to my client, to the applicant. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So yes, the 50-car license is the opportunity for Raymond. He's a professional, as we spoke last month, he's a professional car dealer. 50 cars, even though the lot looks small to us, the car dealers are experts at parking as many cars. That's their livelihood. You might think you can park 10 there. He should be able to park 20 there. Now the new cars, and it's all relevant to the size of the cars. You could be selling Fiats for all I know that take up less space. The license is 50 license. We would like to get 50 license. As you know, some of the new cars now, as they're coming out, not even so new, you can park them with a remote control, where you can park them without even having a skinny used car dealer have to get back in the car to move it. You can pull it in and out with the remote control, so you can park them 2 inches apart. This man's an expert car dealer for many years. The 50-car license is reasonable. I'm not sure how many cars he can park there. And it depends on what car he's selling. If they're smart cars, there's more. 50-car license is the maximum that we're going to sell at the lot. And it's reasonable to issue a 50-car license because we don't know how many cars he's going to be able to squeeze on that lot. There's no requirements they're all his cars. There's no customer cars parked in there. There's no issue with respect to damage to the cars. That we would suggest that 50 cars application is reasonable and should be issued as such. There's no harm. Last week, the opponents were suggesting that our customers are going to get into a butter's property or something like that. It's all speculative, and the number of cars are going to be all contained on his property. So that's what I'd like to say about the number of cars.
Okay.
So,
Commissioner?
and Council, you could tell me if you looked into this, but I'm sure Action will allude to it. It's my understanding, though, in the past, there's been issues with overflow of cars encroaching on Action's property in the past, given the amount of cars that the lot was allowed to have?
I can't comment on what happened in the past, however, from what I've heard from the opponent so far, it seems like he's very strict with his property. He knows where, he alleges that he knows where his lot line is. We've to the contrary, in fact, the pictures I showed you, we have photographs of him encroaching on our property and putting his vehicles on our lot, as opposed to what you're saying. In that sense, this guy's purchased the property. He's asked him not to park the vehicles, and he told him that it's been very rude to my client and's parked his cars on the lot. So certainly, this guy's a professional businessman. He will testify today that he's not gonna be parking his lot. He wants to put a fence up there. He's hired a fence contractor to split the lot, to separate the property. So,
How? I mean, I'll defer to the chairman.
I mean, we're gonna put a fence right down the property line. His cars are gonna be on one side of the fence, Action Auto's property's on the other side of the fence.
There's no fence there now, isn't there?
There was a fence, we don't wanna get into that, there was a fence there. At the time of the purchase, there was a fence. The neighbors allegedly took the fence down in the meantime, and he testified last month that the fence was in such disrepair that if it was falling onto his property, he had to take it down to protect his property. So there's no fence there now, and but we put on there a certified Medford, my client got Medford Engineering, hired him and paid a certified engineer to lay out the plot line. We'll get a fence guy, a licensed fence guy to figure, and a surveyor to show up with him, and a detail officer to show up with him if necessary, put the fence on the lot line. The Commissioner said he doesn't want to talk about the lot line, and that's all immaterial to today's issue. But with respect to the 50 cars, we're going to be parking our 50 cars inside the fence. So there should be no issue. We can,
Again, I'll defer to the commissioner regarding the picture that we have, because we have some legitimate questions about the amount that you're requesting, so, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Right.
Commissioner,
Chairman, Mr.
Raymond
Chairman,
wanted to
sir.
say something. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, sure. Feel free, sir.
Yeah, thank you. We are not going to have at the same time 50 cars, in the yard. We might have today 10 cars, another day 20, but the cars will be moving out quickly. But we are not going to have 50 cars in one day in the lot. But the lot,
Okay.
What's the most you think you'd have on a given week?
say it again, please.
What's the maximum amount of cars do you reasonably foresee yourself having on any given week?
Yeah, but we might have like 20, 25.
That makes sense.
And then the 50, the lot can take 50 cars, more than 50 cars. But we are not going to have one day 50 cars there.
Well, sir, with all due respect, I have a photograph which is, from the city. It's a drone photo. Would you like to take a look at it, Counselor?
Sure we will.
All right, and the line I put on it is where the fence is. If you could tell me how you could fit 50 cars in that space, I'd be very interested. I mean, you'd have to fold them in half, and you'd still only get to 30.
This is the lot line here.
And you also have to appreciate, having, in case of an emergency, there has to be some type of, passageway that you can allow emergency vehicle to enter the property if necessary.
I agree. Now, 50 cars is the maximum that we put on the application.
Yes.
I mean, it's a 50-car license. I mean, I don't know how much we would agree to reduce it if you think it's reasonable.
Well,
Obviously,
would you agree that you could not get 50 cars in that
There's no
space?
way.
That's all, your understanding of what you're looking at, that photograph, would you draw me a diagram as to how you would propose to fit those 50
Well,
cars there?
Mr. Commissioner, we don't want to discuss exactly how he's going to position the car. What we did
Well, I think
suggest
that's
is that
kind of
he's
an
a-
issue, sir.
He's a professional car dealer. He can
He's
pack
gonna
them
have
in
to
there
be a
like
magician
sardines.
to get 50 cars in there.
What was happening, Mr. Commissioner? The previous car dealer license used to have 50 cars, used to have a permit for 50 cars. because this land has been used for car dealer license for years.
And that's not in dispute.
That's where the number, he's telling you that that's where the 50 cars came from.
Well, I understand, but I think that now that we have an opportunity, given that there's a new owner in place, we also have to look at the reasonableness of that prior decision and assess whether this commission will continue or follow suit. At this point, I'll be frank with you, I can't see this lot ever being approved or even fitting 50 cars. I think at best you're at 25 or 30.
How about if we agree to 35? Would you pass 35? Because obviously the cars are getting smaller.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, Counselor, not to interrupt, but you present me with a diagram of how you're gonna put 30 cars in there, and we'll consider it, but I don't see it. I'm sorry.
I think 30 is a stretch. I think
But do you-
we were leaning towards 25 cars.
Do you think the cars are different sizes? Do you agree that cars are different sizes?
I will agree, I'll grant you that, but
Right.
like I say, they're gonna have to be like these little midget mobiles in order to fit 25 cars. I mean, you'd have to agree, sir, that lot is,
It's tight, it's tight.
It's
He
very
wanted a
tight.
bigger lot. Mr. Commissioner, he wanted to purchase a bigger lot. This is a lot we could find that he purchased. That's the only thing that's available. So
and I appreciate that.
maybe what we could do is agree to something less, like 25 cars, and if we need more, if we start selling smaller cars, we can come back and amend the license.
You know, if you wanted to come back with
With the small.
a plan that lays out where you're gonna put 50 cars, okay, on that lot,
Or
sure.
even, you know, if you decide later on to amend it and with some type of diagram or like the chairman suggested, you know, that shows how you can possibly lay out, let's say 35 cars and we can see it, then we can, you know, entertain changing it, but it's just, you know, we went by the property, it's just not foreseeable that it's something that could ever get that high.
Okay.
So, again, we haven't voted on it yet, but I know that at least I'm leaning towards 25 at this point.
If you approve 25, we'll go with that, right,
We
Raymond?
we don't have any problem.
We
Whatever.
still-
Well,
we have
we're
close.
putting the cart in front of the horse. We
Right.
do have to hear out from
Right.
other
I understand,
proponents,
I understand.
perhaps opponents.
What was the other issue you wanted to discuss besides the size of the lot size, the car numbers, Mr. Commissioner?
I don't,
That
you
was
know, I think that was basically, the size of the lot was really the issue, because the other issues, which, you know, the easement and those issues are outside our purview. That's something you are gonna have to deal with the people who bring it up, whether it's in court or whatever venue they wanna have for this, but it's out, according to what the city solicitor said, when we consider this license. The other issue that I brought up was the hours. Are the hours of operation, are they appropriate? It would be the only other issue I think that we'd be able to deal with, would be the hours and the number.
The
Okay.
hours, Raymond, the hours on your application are 8 AM to 7 PM, Sunday through Saturday. What are your normal business at your other lots?
I used to have like 7 to 5. Then whatever, you know, if it's an issue, they can.
I wouldn't spend too much time on the hours. I don't think that really is an issue. But I am, you know, once we close this section, I am intrigued to hear from Action regarding, you know, regarding the history of this property and the amount of cars that typically, you know, if that have ever been a problem. But again, at this point, the only issue that the chairman and myself had was the amount requested. We'll address that. I think that we can come to a meeting of the minds and, you know, in terms of the amount that's reasonable, that we would feel comfortable with approving. But the hours, I wouldn't spend too much time on the record about the hours.
I agree. The hours, he's only gonna be able to keep the place open when there's customers available, so no one's gonna be there at 8 o'clock in the morning
Right.
on Sunday morning looking for cars anywhere. So those hours are really not too important, and I don't think he's gonna bother any of the neighbors. He's a experienced businessman, he's a good citizen, he's not gonna cause any problems in the neighborhood, especially with the concerns with his customers. Even though it's a tight entranceway, it's a busy road, he's gonna have to accommodate his customers and respect the rights of Action as to their property and vice versa. So we expect the same out of those guys. Once we get in there, I'm sure they'll work together, cooperate. And we also want to cooperate, and I want to put on the record, that we're here to cooperate with the action with respect to the fence line and the property line and any alleged encroachments. We want to work there and get the place up and running as cost effectively as possible. We don't want to spend a lot of money in a courtroom, even though I don't mind that. But anyway,
Right. Are you gonna close the section?
So, this is the area as it looks right now.
Right.
I mean, that's,
Yeah. There's no way. Okay.
All right.
Let's go to the next section.
all right, so, thank you very much, Counselor. We will close this section of the hearing.
thank you.
Are there any proponents? Is there anybody that would like to speak on behalf of Noah Auto Sales in the license? Step up to the microphone, please, sir, and your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is John Lentz. I own Auto Body Specialists in Revere. I've known Raymond for 15 years. I do all his repairs, mechanical repairs. And again, with the car thing, a lot of times he has 4 or 5 cars at my facility that we're repairing, getting ready for sale. He's no complaints from any customers for the last 15 years that I know of. And I think he'll be a good asset to the city of Revere. And I don't see any problems. And with the 25 car license, that's probably within reason. So, but like I said, a lot of his cars are at my facility that we're repairing. So it's not like he's going to have 1 million cars there.
Right.
So,
All
good
right,
to
well,
know.
thank you very much, sir. Do you have any questions of the gentleman?
I don't.
Very good. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of Noah? Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Mr.
Good, thank you.
Panarello, I own Goodfellas Services. I've been the one that's there, been cleaning up the lot, and we've been nothing but harassed every time we're there. So much so Sunday that the police were called to file a malicious destruction of property against me, and the police officer showed up and told us, the action you're really reaching, it's ridiculous. I walked down the fence line. The fence is this far past where it's been marked by the engineers on his side, not on their side. And I'm cleaning everything over to an old fence that goes to the junkyard that's fallen down. We've taken out all that overgrowth, all that stuff. We got a 30-yarder there. We filled up with just all the stuff along the fence and putting up a new fence. But every day we pull up there to work, there's 3 tow trucks parked in front of the gates, right across the gates, clearly in his land. And like I said, so much so that the officer came and says, I'm not, and the woman or whoever's in charge was demanding that he file a report. And he said, I am not filing a malicious destruction report. There was nothing here. What had happened was the temporary fence that goes down, on their side, it looked like somebody backed into it. So instead of going down like this, it went like this, into this side. All as I did was move it 3 feet and straighten it out. There are plenty of cameras, like the police officer said. We can go and look at the cameras right now. We didn't destroy nothing. But every time we go there, we get nothing but harassed. And all as I'm doing, and I got pictures, I'll show you, we are doing nothing but cleaning it up. Years and years of stuff along the fence and putting a brand new stockade fence up along the junkyard so you don't see all that. You know, the one that was down, it's down now. And all the overgrowth and everything, all we're getting rid of and everything. But every time we go there, not on the, I never go on that side of the fence because I know it's an issue and stuff, but there's always something every time I go with harassment. So much so, like it said, Sunday, they called the police came and they refused to make a report. They wanted malicious destruction because I moved the fence back off of his property, straight with everything else, which is still at least 18 to 20 inches more onto his side than where the engineers marked it and drove everything, staking the lines and stuff. And it's just crazy. Like it says, I'm just in the middle of going to clean it up, but I can honestly say, and I've got pictures, every morning when we show up there, there's 3 tow trucks parked right across the front of the gates that go into that lot. And we wait, they move them. They do always move them, but they shouldn't be there.
You're in the property next to Noah's?
What's that?
Are you in the property next to Noah's?
No, I'm doing the work, cleaning
Okay.
it all up.
I
I'm
see.
saying is, and Lee's junkyard is
I
next
see.
door, and I've
Okay.
talked to Lee. And the fence that goes between Lee and this property, he was pretty you know, if you've seen it, you were down there, if you go down now, you'll see everything's been cleaned up along, there's new fences going along there. We haven't even touched over where it's between their place and there, because just waiting for something solid, you know what I'm saying, before we do it, don't like to do things twice, you know? But it's been nothing but just unbelievable. I've never dealt with such a minor issue. They're making such a big stink about us just being in the yard cleaning it up. There was a big pile of stuff, the fence that someone took down and threw over beside the thing, that's all been picked up and cleaned up. And like it says, the temporary fence there has never been touched. And you can see where the existing poles were for the old fence that was there, that was taken down. And again, the new fence is 18 to 20 inches, right straight down on his side, not on their side, off of where it could be right on the line, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's backed up, but every time, it's always something, and it's like making a small little thing of just cleaning up a lot into turning around and police officers showing up. You know what I'm saying? We're not even near there, you know what I mean? We're actually on the other side of the yard. We're not even near the fence. We're working that whole lease area and getting everything, and he gave us permission with the trees and stuff. He said, you want to take the trees down that are growing, go? He goes, do it. I'm fine with it. So that's what we've been doing. You go by there, you'll see how much more cleaner it is right now, and I've got pictures too.
Well,
But
I will
I've
say,
known-
I did see the lot, I did see the dumpster in there, and I saw that there was,
Right, and we're
you know,
still working.
stuff ongoing.
Right.
Obviously, you got more work to do, but,
Oh, yeah, as we're going, that's something, they've taken that today and dumping that, Gennaro, but as that goes, we're gonna bring everything right back down to the ground, so the fence is sitting on the ground, on with all the dirt and all the thing blowing in. That's what Lee was big against, because he says everything blows and gets stuck in that fence, and I said, and it's gonna be a solid stockade fence, which was there, it just was all, you know, old and falling down, and it's just gonna be a brand-new one from the back to the front. But I've known him for, 5 years now. He's always been straightforward as far as a businessman and stuff, and always complied with stuff that he had to do. I know that.
all right. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for
Appreciate
your
it.
time.
Absolutely.
Are there any other proponents? I don't see or hear anybody. We'll close this section. Are there any opponents? Is there anybody that's opposed? Yes, ma'am. Step right up to the microphone, please, and your name and address for the record.
Attorney Deborah Gold Alexander, Seaport Landing, 152 Linway, Suite 1F, Lynn, Mass.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Commissioner, I did not have the benefit of any finding from Mr. Capizzi, so I can't, I had prepared a presentation based on my understanding of, a different understanding as to what you presented today, so.
Would you like to see
Absolutely.
the ruling that we received? It's basically just one page is the one that would be applicable.
And we kind of alluded to it at the last meeting that, it wasn't, we didn't entirely think that that was something that we can address before the commission.
So I would definitely offer a copy of that at some point before leaving today, but,
Yeah, leave us your card, and Maggie will get it to you. Oh, you have a card? Okay.
so, before I get into some other basic things, I agree that the boundaries and the lot lines, this is not the forum to be litigating those matters. I do want to put everyone on notice that no fences should be being removed or erected or whatever until this boundary matter is resolved. You have a plan that was provided by Medford Engineering on behalf of the applicant that
Yes, we do.
shows a couple of feet next to that garage structure. There is the 1995 subdivision plan of Al Romano. I don't know if you have a copy of that, but I have a copy. And I can provide counsel with a copy. And the 1995 plan,
Thank you.
and behind it is a 1981 plan of Lot A of 1087 Broadway. 1995, the subdivision plan, they divided that lot into a new Lot D, which is Mr. Zacharia's property, Action, and Lot E, Broadway, which is the lot that was purchased by Noah. That plan shows that the boundary line is right at that garage structure on Lot E. There was and I apologize, I only have one copy. There was another survey done in '05. And this survey that was done by Paul Pinocchio shows an encroachment of that structure onto Action's property.
Thank you.
And what I'll direct your attention is if you see the garage structure there on Lot E, it is over the boundary line a bit. So what we have here, without litigating the lot line or boundary issue, is that there is a discrepancy in these survey plans. We have just retained a new surveyor to do a updated current survey and to try to reconcile these various plans, because we have 3 different plans that show, and my understanding is it's a matter of where they start from when they measure with the stakes and whatnot. But they took title in July, and since then, they had the survey done, and there was an incident with the fence going down. So what I would be saying is that there should be no, I did have a brief conversation with council this morning, and said we should, put that matter on the back burner until we deal with the used car license matter. But I've heard testimony from other people who are messing with the fence, and I'm just putting people on notice that no one should be doing anything about a fence when there is a boundary issue. Hopefully we can come to an agreement. I'm all about facilitating a resolution. And certainly nobody wants to spend money on litigating matters in court. But if there's an encroachment and that is Action's property, then they certainly don't want to lose 2 or 3 feet of their property by adverse possession or whatever.
Which may be your biggest issue, but we're not obviously gonna.
That's right, that's right. But the gentleman from Goodfellas said there was something about a fence. Mr. Zacharia does have a photo where it shows he was, doing something
Can I
with
see
the
that?
fence.
Can I see that?
Excuse me?
Can I see that? May I see that, please?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And also parked on Action's property.
Can your client provide us some testimony regarding if there's because he's been there for a while, so has there been issues in the past regarding the cars, either blocking his driveway, or has there been an overflow of cars or anything of that nature, given the amount of cars that was approved before?
Unfortunately, we've gone back to 2005 trying to deal with this matter. We've come to the city, we've gone to different agencies in the city over the years, because the Sergeant Janino in traffic had been involved with this. He had talked to the previous dealership several times about the 50 cars and the cars being parked in the lot and then in front for sale and no customer parking, because they kept encroaching into on our property, blocking the emergency access to our facility, the bay doors where we respond out of, and so on. And we tried for years and years to try to resolve it, and we just couldn't get anywhere, because we were always told this license was grandfathered, the 50 cars is grandfathered, the non-compliance with all the issues I had raised with water and sewer is all grandfathered. So we just were kind of up against the wall, and we just dealt with it. But we had multiple times that the police, Revere Police, responded there to deal with the past dealership down there, and they met large opposition against the dealership with even working with them. We had brought reports forward, couldn't get any relief, so we just dealt with it. And it was an ongoing nightmare for us to operate for years. When the property now was sold, we said, this is our opposition with the new people. When the gentleman came down, so even to back up a little bit, to the license being issued last year to the person that purchased the dealer's license from Kevin's Auto Sales prior to this gentleman. He came up for the hearing, said it was grandfathered in, they issued it. I reviewed that video. Mrs. Guanasso said, Commissioner Guanasso said to them, have you talked to Action? You should go and meet with them and, saying you're gonna be their neighbor. They never met with us. They were there for 1 month, paid 1 month rent, and then they were evicted after 4 months. We dealt with the same problem with the parking issue with those people. And every time it was raised, they always went back to the 50 cars. We had a lot of concern about the cars, the way they were in there. If there was ever a fire, there was no fight in the fire, and it was gonna spread to our property and our equipment. So when this gentleman purchased it, we tried to talk to him and see what his intention was. He said he was gonna build an auto body shop and do a bunch of stuff on the property. We got nervous because that was his position. That's when we decided to retain an attorney, because what we had reviewed, the lot line was only part of it. Our argument for the last 17 years was that 1087 Broadway that they were using as an address was our address, and it was never properly subdivided. So we had a lot of legal issues that our attorneys raised, and our insurance agent, Don Bocchino, even over the years, that their address that they were using, that if there was any liability on it, was actually our address. And that raised a lot of issues. So that was our argument as we came into this. So we had several points to be raised that we wanted to raise now that the door was now open with a new owner.
So let me take.
Yep.
One of our major concerns is that we had been told that this used car license was grandfathered in. I understand from Ms. Haney that that would go back to the 2010 session laws. I had an opportunity to review that, and I also had an opportunity to go back as far as the current used car license owner, which is Kevin Auto Sales LLC, with an address of 1087R Broadway. So what's interesting is the property card for what is now 1095 Broadway, and was just recently given that number, maybe within a week, per the assessor's office. I went down to look at the maps. This lot had always been Broadway without a number and referenced as Lot E. And the reason I bring that up is this whole idea about the grandfathering of this license as to this lot. I think council has come in and said, and at the previous Zoom meeting said that the applicant purchased the real estate, but he didn't purchase the license, so he was applying for the license. Then I was informed that this license was grandfathered in for this particular locus. This locus now being 1095 Broadway, however, it was always Lot E Broadway per that 95 Al Romano plan, and moving forward, it went through a couple of changes in title to this Champa family, and then Anthony Squilanti bought it in '06, and then he conveyed it to Noah. My understanding is back when Mark Scarborough, who was a trustee of Ronaldo Realty Trust, had the property, he and Champa maybe ran some used car services together, and that we believe that that license was always 1087 Broadway. So I've asked for copies of the licenses from 2010 moving forward, and I think we do want to request copies of licenses from 95, which would probably be, necessitate an archive search at some point, and I get all that. But what's important is that this license, this used car license for this Locust, how is that grandfathered in? So that is one aspect of this, because if you look at Kevin Auto Sales LLC, they were formed in 2011. You can check all this on the Secretary of State's website. They were formed in 2011. They always had a principal office in Lynn. First it was 9 Grandview in Lynn, then it became 106 Chestnut. They only become 1087, and not 1087R, but when Anthony Maffo becomes the resident agent in 2020 on a corporate filing, LLC filing, he lists 1087 Broadway. There was never a 1087R Broadway, either in your city, your records, your assessors maps, your property card, and certainly none in the chain of title. As far as...
But I'm seeing the address as 1095.
Yeah, but that's not the license.
Yeah, because I'm holding paperwork that your brother provided. Did you get this?
Took me 5 minutes. They raised the issue last.
You got to come to the mic. May I see that? You have to come to the mic.
So that's the 22 license.
Excuse me 1 minute, Council.
Yeah, I just want to, yeah, quickly.
The opponent raised the issue of the 1087 was a big problem for them for 20 years, big confusion. We called the city engineer, he corrected it in 5 minutes, said, yeah, I can correct it for you if you like. I said, yeah, I'd like a new address. He said, no worries, we'll fix that one. We got one property abutted where Lee's Auto Sales is, and he said that was 1089, so there's no room in between, but he can just change theirs, because they don't use it anyway. And so he gave us a new address, and it was not, it's not, he said it's no issue, he could have done it 20 years ago had you requested it.
So here we are now, 1095.
1095. All right.
Does that solve the issue, Council?
Absolutely not. Sorry.
No, it's okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That's why you get paid the big bucks.
So, right,
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
I get it.
So, having an address now, this license was always Kevin Auto Sales LLC.
We got a third address now.
You want to ask about that one?
The deed says 1070.
No, he says it's lot E, it says lot E.
Yeah, but the
No, it says-
1070 Lot E.
It says Noah's Auto Body, principal place of business, 1070 Broadway, rear.
On the detailed, I get the deed that I just gave you.
The deed description references Al Romano's plan of 1995, so that's the plan you have,
August 24th, 1995,
which is Lot E,
which is Lot E.
which is Lot E Broadway.
That's a legal description, is lot E.
And-
But
Yeah, that's the meet and bound, but I'm talking about the address listed, I mean.
No, it's always been Lot E Broadway with no
Right.
number. And they have a number now, and that's great.
Right.
But for purposes of, what we don't want to do is combine the non-conforming zoning use, which I would submit is a matter before the zoning board to, whether or not they're going to be required to bring in water and sewer and fire upgrade and everything that my clients did when they took title to their property, with this used car license for this Locust. So we had been told that this was grandfathered in because it was always a used car lot. But the problem is, if every year it was renewed in error, that doesn't give anyone a right to have this license. And and Noah had purchased the land, but he didn't purchase the license, and there was no transfer of the license. This is a new license. So if the commission believes they should still get a license, we would be saying that one should be granted with conditions of hooking up to water and sewer and fire upgrades and whatnot, notwithstanding that it's a non-conforming use, and if they don't substantially increase it or expand upon it. This license we would submit is in effect for Kevin's Auto Sales LLC at 1087 Broadway. I don't know what 21's license, who that was, or what address they gave. I don't have the licenses from 2010 to 2021 to show that this is grandfathered in.
But from Kevin to Noah, is it your argument at some point the license has either lapsed or been abandoned?
Yes, that's another argument, because prior to Kevin's, Kevin's Auto Sale LLC was formed in 2011. Prior to that, 06, there was a Kevin's Auto Sales, Inc., which is a completely separate entity. That was formed in 06, and they involuntarily dissolved in 2012. It's the same principles. Raphael Chaveria or whatever, he was involved with Kevin Auto Sales, Inc., which dissolved in 2012, and in 2011, they formed Kevin Auto Sales LLC, but again, had a principal address in Lynn, never in Revere. So Mr. Zachariah had, prior to him taking title in 2014, he was on the premises since the early 2000s under a lease. And he knows that there was long periods of time where nothing was operating. They may have renewed a license, they may have held a license, almost like a pocket license for an alcohol license, but nobody was operating that. So we believe that this particular license, if I was to get those prior licenses, was initially issued to 1087 Broadway and was just carried over every year. And we dispute the issuance of the used car license for this Lot E. And Mr. Sullivan said at the Zoom conference, we want to make sure we're on firm footing
Of course.
of the license. And I have serious questions
No,
about this.
honestly, counsel, you're making a very compelling argument, but I suspect, you know, the floor is yours. I suspect your brother's going to come up here and argue that there wasn't a legal break in that chain, because as far as I understand, and, you know, my chairman can correct me if I'm wrong, there has to be an effective abandonment, meaning like if someone else came into this property and operated a tow business out of Noah's, then now we can say, you know what, your car sales license was abandoned. You can't necessarily be grandfathered in because you've effectively started using the property as something else, so you can't, you know, hide behind the guise of, you know, this is grandfathered in. So again, I suspect my brother will make that argument, but so
a question for you is, if those prior licenses were issued to Kevin's Auto Sale, Inc., which dissolved in 2012, and then just kept being renewed for Kevin's Auto, Inc., which I don't have that information, and again, I don't know what address they were putting, because 1087R seems to only come into play 2 years ago from the Secretary of State filing, so I don't know what address was being used prior to, say, 18, then that entity wasn't a valid entity, a legal entity, and so you have a license by a non-legal entity.
right, but I think you have to give us some authority that suggests that we either should not have issued that license if they weren't either in good standing, or there was an issue with their corporate status that would effectively, you know, change their license, and we issued it in an error, and, you know, give me the authority.
So I would welcome to do that. I would like to see those documents. I think we need to see that, because if I'm wrong, then obviously
You make a very compelling
position on this, you know, can't be supported. But if in fact that's what happened, then I don't see, and I defer to the board, you know, about it being grandfathered in. Is it grandfathered into the 80s, back to the 90s, back to the 2000s? What does that reference? What does that mean?
Well, again, from what I understand, and again, the chairman can correct me if I'm wrong, from the time that this initial license was issued, until today, there has never been a break in that chain. Again, you make a very compelling argument. I'm intrigued to hear from my brother.
I will say for the record, Ms. Haney does maintain that we go back to 2010, which is the session laws for Chapter 455, and I do not necessarily disagree, but I want to see, even if we go back to 2010, because I think it's going to come up as 1087 Broadway.
But the intent was to give it to this property, which was Kevin's Auto and now Noah's, even if it was 1087 or now 1095.
So that's the issue on that. And the other thing, the other couple of issues I want to raise is if you look at Al Romano's plan in 95, he has like 15 spots shown on that plan. And I think it looks tight even with that. But you need to have access to get to and from those vehicles, to have those vehicles pull out. I don't care, how much of an expert you are in, driving vehicles or selling vehicles. But he had lined out those plans on Lot E in 1995, those spaces, I'm sorry, and that was back in 1995. And Mr. Zachariah did also show on this plan that shows the encroachment that there would be like 3,783 square feet for parking of cars. Each car would need 14 feet by 20, 280 square feet. He estimates 14 vehicles if this license was allowed to be issued, and that would need to be, we would want that to be a condition. But we believe that, based on the overall argument, that to operate any used car lot at this Lot E, which is now 1095, that it should be subject to the same requirements of connecting with water and sewer and upgrades and whatnot, notwithstanding the nonconformity of the use of the zoning use.
Counselor, just so you are aware, we did get an opinion from the building inspector, and his opinion was that, and I can read it to you, is that this would be something that would be, and I hate to use this word, grandfathered. From the building code perspective, they are grandfathered in to operate the area as it has since it existed. The building or shed, if built today, should have bathroom facilities per code. If they ever change use or do substantial renovation, then they can be required to add a bathroom. So that is kind of what, where the city is coming down in that issue. So, just so you understand that.
I believe I was familiar with that, not
Okay.
Mr. Capizzi's report.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you very much. Counselor, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Absolutely. I'd just like to see that, my client's already, he wants to have a bathroom just as much as the neighbors want him to have a bathroom. He's already hired Rick Salvo to investigate the matter, and we gave you a letter from him regarding that, suggesting that he's been retained to provide a plan and investigate the existing conditions and look into the matter of getting municipal water and sewer to the location. So certainly, my client wants to improve the property. Certainly, he's going to have a permit and go through the whole process apart from the license. The license, it's my understanding with respect to the the prior license, there was a license issued last year. There was no, last year to the prior owner. The use, what we're transferring is the use of Lot E, which he purchased for used car sales. The license is available to us. The use is pre-existing non-conforming use. The license should be issued to that property for that use that's available to my client per the city solicitor and per the building inspector. And going forward, we're certainly going to try to get the fence situation straightened out. We want to cooperate with these guys rather than make a big neighbor war forever going on there. It's a small property. He's got to make money selling cars rather than wasting on attorney fees and court fees. So we're going to try to work with Michael. Also, hopefully Michael would go out of here today and respect the lot, the property of him. And so he mentioned how all these other encroachers were encroaching on his property. As soon as the lot was sold, his vehicles, as we have evidence of, have been parked all over our guy's property. And it's not his, he's not paying a tax on it. He should be respecting our property, just as he's complaining about our guy's customers using his property improperly. So we would like to do respect from going forward, at least from today, Michael, and we appreciate if you could give us that. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Thank you very much, Council. Well, I hope each side will respect the other's property lines and work towards some resolution. For our purposes, I don't know how you feel about it, Mr. Commissioner, but I think that the solicitor has kind of laid it out for us that really we have a decision to make as far as whether or not to issue the license based on the number of vehicles, whether or not the gentleman is qualified to have the license. All these other issues are issues that need to be addressed in the proper forum, whether it be court or other venues beside this one. So at this point, I mean, I think we are kind of bound to make a decision on whether or not we want to issue this license based on everything that you've heard. And do you have any ideas on?
So I'll state for the record that I do think the applicant is certainly qualified. I do think that he purchased this property with the intent of operating it as a used car lot. At this point, I haven't received the necessary information to suggest that we can't issue this license. I'm prepared to move to approve the license with 20 cars. And I think the 50 car approval from before is just too much. I can't see it, and if council can somehow draw up some type of diagram that suggests that this lot can fit more than 20 at some later date, we would encourage you to come back and amend the license. But I'm prepared to move at this point to approve the license for 20 vehicles on this property.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think that's a reasonable position to take. I mean, I'm troubled a little bit by some of this stuff on the deed and the property line and all of the other issues that were raised. And so, Counselor, whatever improvements you do to the property if this license is approved, you do it at your own peril. If it comes out that you put up a fence and it turns out it's on their property, you're gonna have to take that fence down. Same thing with the building and stuff like that. So just be aware that this is something that I would suggest you negotiate with the other side here so that you don't have issues related to this. Right now, I'm prepared to second your motion and issue the license.
Do you have something to say?
Yes, I would, sir. I would like to comment on the 20 cars. I would like to see, given the guy's a professional car dealer, many years, he deals in cars in East Boston on a tighter lot than this lot. He has 6,741 square feet. He would like and has requested me to ask you to give him 25 cars. he's a professional expert used car salesman. He's been relying on this lot, even though small, to make his livelihood and feed his family. And we expect him to try to sell as many cars as he can out of there. And whether or not he can fit, if he can fit 25 cars in there, we would welcome
Here's
that
that picture.
determination. There's 6,741 square feet. A car, it's like almost if you go to the Boston, in Boston, where they park the cars for you at their lot. They park far more cars on those lots than you would yourself, and they're professional car parkers.
Well, I would understand that, Counselor. However, looking at this, this is where the fence is, right?
Right, so they would basically have to come out to, so you can fit 4 more, but
That's-
you're right onto the road.
You're not, that's,
And then you got the easement that will be impeded. So, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 possibly.
I mean, I think 20 is a stretch, to be honest with you. And when I thought that giving you 20, I don't see how you're gonna fit 20 cars on here.
Can we ask Raymond, who's the expert, to opine on that, to give him one more shot at it?
You know what? Here's what we'll do. We would issue it temporarily for 20 cars. If you want to come back with a diagram and show me exactly how you're going to get 25 on there, would be, take that under advisement and maybe up it. But for
That'd
right
be
now, I
perfect.
don't see how
That-
it's
That's
possible.
perfect for us, Mr. Commissioner. That'd be fabulous. If you would give us that opportunity, if we need it, to come back and review that particular issue.
Absolutely. If you can show a diagram here of how you're going to fit 25 cars on that lot, we'd be more than happy to increase it to 25, or at least we would take the position that we would take it under advisement, and obviously my fellow commissioners would have to vote on it. It's not anything that I can arbitrarily do, but I don't think that any one of the commissioners that are here would have an objection to that.
That would be fantastic. Good, thank you.
Yeah, I have no objection.
All right, very good. So as it stands right now, we will issue this Class 2 motor vehicle license for Noah. The application of Noah Auto Body Repair and Sales, Inc. for a Class 2 motor vehicle dealer license to be exercised.
Good luck with the address.
I mean, you see what I'm talking about here, right?
1095. Yeah, 1095.
Well, the deed says 1070.
Right, per the city. This is from the city, 1095.
Okay, what about the deed?
New deed.
There's a new deed that was amended?
The deed here that's issued to this, here's the deed that I gave it to you in your packet.
Right, I think that's
Yes,
what we're
well,
looking
that
at.
says
It
1070.
1070.
Where does it say 1070? It says Lot E on mine.
Well, Lot E, but it says 1070. I mean, that's kind of the point.
Middle
Oh, it
paragraph.
says that. I can correct that.
Right, that's what
It's, if you would put it under as 1095 on the ruling, because that's what we're using going forward.
right, and if you could amend the deed.
I can fix
that's
that.
easy fix.
Okay.
Good call, Rob.
So the dealer license will be exercised at 1095 Broadway. And your hours of operation are Sunday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that license is approved. Thank you very much. The next items on the agenda would be communications. We have a notification from the Massachusetts Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission of the approval of an application to change of manager of Uno Restaurant LLC, DBA Uno Chicago Grill. Item number 2, another notification from the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission of the approval of an application for a change of manager of MHF Logan Operating V LLC, DBA Hampton Inn Revere. Number 3, a notification from the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission of the approval of an application for a change of manager of 99 West LLC, DBA 99 Restaurant and Pub. One other item that we might want to think about, and I don't know if you want to deal with it now, would be New Year's Eve. Do we want to wait maybe for next month for Commissioner Guanasso, or is that something that we want to deal with now?
I say we wait for Commissioner Guanasso.
Very good, we'll table that till next month. I would make a motion then that we adjourn
November 16th?
until November 16th. You want to second that motion?
I'd second that motion.
Very good, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.